To help provide more analysis on this situation in southern Lebanon, we're joined from Beirut by Mr. Abdullah Nehme, a political analyst. Thank you, sir, for joining us here on In Focus. Sir, firstly, let's start off by asking, what details can you share about the most recent Israeli drone strike in Halta and its implications for the local population and local residents of this area?
Of course, we're aware that Israeli is violating the agreement day by day, and I think the effect, it impacts the economic stance of the state very severely, and Israel shall stop these daily violations committed on southern Lebanon. We're aware that there is an airstrike on southern suburbs after the Nabih Berri statements regarding turning in their weapons, and I think that last escalation by Naim Qasim and what was stated by President Berri yesterday regarding not turning in their weapons except with the Israeli withdrawal from the 5 areas in the south, and after Israel stops all the violations, the same terms stated by Naim Qasim, and Israel considered this escalation after such as what happens after the 2006 when Hezbollah started establishing the infrastructure once again. Israel, with this message today, they are saying that they are not going to allow Hezbollah to do what they have done in 2006, and they will eliminate all the Hezbollah powers. This was a message to the Lebanese government and to Nabih Berri in particular and to Hezbollah. And of course, you know that there are negotiations taking place between Iran and the United States, and unfortunately, United States is negotiating regarding the nuclear program without and not the Iranian arms in the region, and we know that Hezbollah is an Iranian arm in the region, and they are taking advantage of this to gain leverage in the negotiations.
So it's basically a way to sabotage the negotiations. Is this your belief? Sorry,
no, it's a pressuring card. The strike today against Lebanon is a response to the statements said by Naim Qasim and Nabih Berri, because President Berri yesterday said that they will not turn on their weapons before the Israeli withdrawal from the 5 areas. They are turning against the resolution 1701, and Hezbollah considers that they turned in 90% of their weapons, and there are only the 5 areas that Israel considers strategic, but they are violating this agreement every day, and Hezbollah is afraid of turning in their weapons, and Israel in the following day will enter Lebanon and Beirut. As stated by Berri earlier, that they turned their weapons north of the Litani River, but the rest will be after the full Israeli commitment to the agreement. This was Israel responded to this today that they are not going to evacuate the strategic area, and they will not accept any terms by Hezbollah. And the strike against the suburbs was a clear message to create tensions between the public and Hezbollah. We are aware that these strikes prompt resistance against Hezbollah.
But this is also in violation of a ceasefire, sir. I mean, as you said, the Israeli side has repeatedly violated the ceasefire agreement and affected civilian life and regional stability as a whole. We've even seen the presidency come out with a statement about holding the Israelis to account, asking, the rapporteurs and the representatives like the United States to hold the Israelis to the account and, ensure that the ceasefire is not violated. Do you think this is something that is possible, or will no one be able to hold the Israeli side to account?
Of course, Israel will not be held accountable because the 1701 resolution, which Lebanon fully committed to, and it gives Israel the right to actually commit these violations, because there is an item stipulating that for each party the right to defense as they see fit. And Hezbollah signed this, as well as Israel, and Israel sees it as self-defense to strike a different region every day. And they are aware that the Lebanese army will not be able to respond equally, and Israel is taking advantage of this item in the 1701 resolution.
But sir, you spoke about the idea of the 5 border posts or outposts that the Israelis have maintained presence in. How is this useful to the Israelis? Why do they still maintain a presence there? And how is this considered self-defense in any way or form with a ceasefire in effect?
Of course, Israel should evacuate these 5 points, because the 1701 resolution should be upheld by Israel and Lebanon. And what is happening in the south is not stipulated in 1701 resolution. Hezbollah today, if Israel withdraws from the 5 points, maybe Hezbollah will turn on their weapons, and the Israel remaining in these 5 points is giving an excuse to Hezbollah to keep doing what they're doing, and things will stay the same. And Israel also is taking advantage of the situation to assault Lebanon every day and launch their attacks on innocent civilians. Also, Israel is violating the resolution, and there is a committee of 5 should practice some pressure on Israel, but unfortunately they are taking the excuse that each of both parties can respond as they see fit. But unfortunately, Lebanon is incapable of responding to such attacks.
Okay, sir, what about the recent evacuation warning that the Israeli army had given to the Beirut residents before striking? This is, again, the second time that this has happened during the ceasefire, even though that the Israelis have already struck parts of Lebanon without warning. Why is it they're warning right now, and why is this significant?
In the suburbs, always Israel issues warnings before striking the suburbs, because it's known that the suburbs is full of population. And today the strike was on a residential area, 100% residential area, and Hezbollah uses these areas for religious ceremonies. It's not a weapons warehouse as alleged by Israel. We have seen 4 warnings before Israel struck by the 35 airplanes making the excuse that there is a weapon warehouse there. And of course there were live bullets, exchange of bullets by the Hezbollah and the security elements to evacuate the area. These warnings were to evacuate the areas. We have seen a wide range evacuation and terror spread among the populations. The students are now out of schools, and the elderly are running the streets. Of course, it's not easy striking the suburbs and striking Beirut. It's a huge message to Hezbollah and the Lebanese state, and Hezbollah should actually read the message as it's sent. What's being done by Israel is unacceptable, and Lebanon should take steps going and complaining to the Security Council and to the US, which brokered the 1701 resolutions and the agreement. And Israel should also withdraw from the 5 points and halt all the hostilities being committed every day. The diplomatic solution is the only option here, and the military option will only bring.
You've made your point clear there, but we're out of time for this segment. So that was Mr. Abdullah Nehme, a political analyst. I apologize for cutting you off there. Thank you for your insights. You joined us from southern Lebanon, and from Beirut rather. Thank you so much for joining us from southern Lebanon.